Imagine a man who started his life fixing cars in a small-town garage, covered in grease and sweat, suddenly living a life of unimaginable luxury. Private jets, sprawling mansions, a fleet of over 150 exotic cars, and even a NASCAR team. To the outside world, he was a self-made success story, a visionary entrepreneur riding the wave of the renewable energy revolution. But behind the scenes, it was all a lie, a carefully constructed illusion. This is the story of Jeff Carpoff, the mechanic who scammed the richest and most powerful people in America out of nearly $1 billion. A man who turned the promise of clean energy into one of the most audacious frauds in modern history. Jeff Carpoff wasn't born into wealth or privilege. He was just an ordinary guy from California, a mechanic with big dreams and an even bigger hunger for success. But Jeff wasn't the kind of man who wanted to climb the ladder one step at a time. He wanted to skip the hard work, the grind, the years of struggle. He wanted it all, and he wanted it fast. And in the mid-2000s, he found his golden opportunity. At the time, renewable energy was the future. Governments were pouring billions into green technology, offering massive tax breaks to companies that could innovate and help reduce the world's reliance on fossil fuels. It was a gold rush, and everyone wanted a piece of it. Investors, corporations, even billionaires were scrambling to get in on the action. And Jeff? He saw a way to exploit it. In 2008, Jeff and his wife, Paulette, founded DC Solar. On paper, it was a company that manufactured mobile solar generators, portable units that could provide clean energy anywhere. Construction sites, outdoor events, disaster relief zones, these generators were marketed as revolutionary. They were supposed to be the future of portable power, a game changer in the renewable energy industry. Investors were immediately hooked. The pitch was irresistible. Invest in these generators, help save the planet, and get massive tax credits in return. It was a win-win. And Jeff was a master salesman. He knew exactly how to play on people's greed, their desire to make easy money while feeling like they were doing something good for the world. But there was one problem. The generators didn't exist. Sure, there were a few real units, enough to show off to investors during carefully staged tours of DC Solar's facilities. But the vast majority of the 17,000 generators Jeff claimed to have built were nothing more than numbers on paper. It was all a lie. A Ponzi scheme. Here's how it worked. Jeff would take money from new investors and use it to pay off earlier investors, creating the illusion that the business was thriving. Meanwhile, he and Paulette were siphoning off millions to fund their extravagant lifestyle. And when I say extravagant, I mean extravagant. The Carpoffs didn't just live well, they lived like royalty. They bought over 150 luxury cars, including Lamborghinis, Ferraris, and even a rare 1978 Pontiac Firebird, once owned by Burt Reynolds. They purchased private jets, multiple mansions, and even a NASCAR team. They threw lavish parties, rubbing shoulders with celebrities and politicians. To the outside world, they were the epitome of success. But behind the scenes, their empire was built on lies. For years, the scheme worked. Investors kept pouring in money, dazzled by the promise of clean energy and easy profits. Jeff and Paulette were careful to keep up appearances, staging elaborate tours of their facilities and producing fake financial statements to keep their investors happy. They even managed to fool some of the smartest and wealthiest people in the world. One of their biggest victims? Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway. Yes, even the Oracle of Omaha, one of the most cautious and calculated investors in history, fell for Jeff Carpoff's lies. That's how convincing the scam was. But no lie can last forever. By 2018, the cracks in Jeff's empire were starting to show. Investors were beginning to ask questions. The numbers weren't adding up. And then, the FBI got involved. When federal agents raided DC Solar's offices, what they found was staggering. Out of the 17,000 generators Jeff claimed to have built, only a fraction actually existed. The rest were nothing more than a mirage, a carefully constructed illusion designed to keep the money flowing. The fallout was catastrophic. Nearly $1 billion had vanished. Investors were left reeling, their fortunes wiped out. And Jeff? He didn't seem to care. Even as the walls closed in, he continued to live his lavish lifestyle, as if he believed he was untouchable. But in 2020, his luck finally ran out. Jeff Carpoff was sentenced to 30 years in prison, and Paulette received 11 years. Their assets were seized and auctioned off. Cars, mansions, jets, everything. But for the investors who had lost everything, it was too little, too late. Jeff Carpoff's story isn't just about greed. It's about the power of illusion, the lengths people will go to chase wealth, and the devastating cost of trusting the wrong person. It's a story of how one man exploited the promise of clean energy, turning it into a weapon of deception. But perhaps the most chilling part of this story is how easily it all could have been avoided. The signs were there. Red flags that investors chose to ignore because they were blinded by the promise of easy money. It's a reminder that even the smartest, most powerful people can be fooled when greed takes over. So the next time someone offers you a deal that seems too good to be true, remember this: the most dangerous lies are the ones we want to believe. And sometimes, the people we trust the most are the ones who betray us in the end. This was the story of Jeff Carpoff, the mechanic who scammed the richest people in America. A man who turned a dream of green energy into a nightmare of greed and deception. A man who proved that even the most ordinary beginnings can lead to extraordinary darkness.